In a quiet valley where the mist never truly left the water, and where the sky seemed to stretch endlessly in hues of silver and pale blue, there lay a small lake with glassy stillness. The villagers who lived nearby called it Mirror Deep. Most never visited after twilight. Some said the lake whispered your name when no one else could hear. Others claimed that if you stared into the water too long, you'd see not your reflection but your forgotten memories. But there was one story, an old one, passed from elder to child, from wandering storyteller to curious listener, that spoke of a hidden place beneath the water, a place where no one walked, but where stories breathed, a library. Not just a building filled with books, but a living memory of every tale never told, every poem left unfinished, every thought never written. They called it the library beneath the lake. Few believed it existed, except for a girl named Run. Run was unlike most. She was born into silence, never having uttered a sound, yet her mind was full of voices. The wind spoke in ancient syllables. Trees hummed lullabies in the dusk. Books crackled with unseen conversation. And the lake, especially the lake, called to her in dreams, in ripples, in reflections. She had lived all 16 of her years beside Mirror Deep. While others feared its mysteries, she found comfort in its silence. Her parents, both scholars, had passed when she was a child, and since then, she'd been raised by her grandfather, an old mapmaker who often scribbled strange routes with no beginnings or ends. One misty morning, Run awoke to find a new map pinned to her wall. She hadn't drawn it. Her grandfather hadn't entered her room. The parchment was damp and smelled faintly of lilies. It showed the lake. But beneath it, spirals, chambers, rows and corridors. And in the bottom corner, a single word in her grandfather's flowing hand: remember. That was the morning Run decided to dive. With a satchel of paper and pencils sealed in waxed cloth, a string of pearls tied around her wrist, a gift from her mother, and a heart full of questions, Run slipped beneath the surface just as the first rays of sunlight kissed the lake. She expected cold. Instead, she felt warmth. Not heat, but welcome. The water parted like curtains, and as she descended, her breath remained steady. Her eyes stayed clear. There was no struggle, no drowning, only falling slowly through blue and silver and deeper blue, until her feet touched stone. She stood beneath the lake. A vast dome arched above her, made of translucent crystal and flowing glyphs. The floor was carved with old languages that moved and reformed like gentle waves. Shelves, if one could call them that, rose in spirals housing books, scrolls, glowing threads, whispering feathers, locked bottles, and singing stones. Run had found the library. Or perhaps it had found her. She spent hours, perhaps days, wandering its halls. There was no hunger, no sleep, only exploration. Each book was alive. Some opened only when held with both hands. Others required a tear, or a laugh, or a song hummed from memory. Run discovered stories written in invisible ink that appeared only in moonlight, and tales so sad that they wept as you read them. She found one book bound in bark that told the dreams of trees. Another whispered the wishes of every child who had ever tossed a coin into a well. And one, locked in a glass case, sang the story of a future not yet decided. Run didn't just read. She listened. And the library listened back. Eventually, she found a section unlike the rest. It was dimmer, colder. The shelves here were not filled with stories, but starts, half-finished thoughts, abandoned plots, memories no one claimed. Here the silence was heavier. Run sat, opened her satchel, and began to write. She wrote about her parents, what she remembered, what she imagined. She wrote about the wind that spoke and the trees that sang. She wrote about the lake that whispered. And as her pencil moved, the shelf before her lit with soft golden light. A book formed, its cover warm, its spine etched with her name. It joined the others. And Ren understood. This place was not only a sanctuary. It was an invitation. To remember, to imagine, to speak, without words. For weeks, maybe years, Ren returned each day. She brought stories of her village, of lovers who met in secret, of an old dog who dreamed in color, of a lantern that never went out. The library grew. Others came. A boy with burns on his hands who painted fire into poetry. A blind woman who danced the songs she felt beneath her feet. A child who drew with chalk and made the books laugh. They didn't speak. They listened. They created. And the world above changed. People began to remember their dreams. Children told stories no one had taught them. Elders recalled songs thought lost. And the lake shimmered brighter each night. Not because it was magical, but because it was heard. One day, Rin stood at the edge of the library's deepest chamber. A door appeared, carved of coral and lined with silver. It pulsed. She opened it. Inside was a mirror. But it didn't reflect her face. It showed 100 Rens. 1,000. One from each story she had written. Each version smiled, cried, danced, waited. And then they stepped forward into her. She gasped, felt everything. Every possibility. She was no longer just Ren. She was the teller, the listener, the remembered. She stepped out of the library one final time. The lake still shimmered. The mist still curled. But when she walked through the village, people turned, not in surprise, but in welcome. They didn't ask where she had been. They handed her blank pages. And she began again. The library remains. It has no address, no map, but some find it. When they dream, when they listen, when they remember what they never said. And in its quiet halls, new stories wait. Maybe yours is there. Maybe Ren has already started writing it. Or maybe she's waiting for you to finish.